Hello and welcome to a new episode of 7 Facts. If you love geography or history, subscribe right now. I promise it'll be worth it. Dagestan is a federal subject of Russia, a republic in the North Caucasus region right next to Chechnya, Georgia and Azerbaijan. It is the country's largest republic in the North Caucasus, and it's also Russia's southernmost point. Most of Dagestan is mountainous, with the Greater Caucasus Mountains covering the southern regions, which means the landscapes are top-notch. Look to the east and you'll find another great natural treasure. Dagestan's 405-kilometer-long eastern border is with the Caspian Sea. If you don't know much about Dagestan and think this is a dull place, well, it's time to change your mind. Dagestan's history is tied to ancient Albania. No, not that Albania. In the first few centuries of our era, the area of South Dagestan and Azerbaijan belonged to the Kingdom of Caucasian Albania. This country has nothing to do with modern-day Albania or with the Albanian nation. Caucasian Albania fell under the dominance of other major powers by the 5th century, and it's been under someone else's influence ever since, including the Roman Empire. Parthians, Romans, Persians, Russians all exerted their influence on this region, and Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and finally Islam all had a strong presence at one point or the other. As you can imagine, this resulted in an incredibly rich and diverse culture and history. Nearly 3 million people live in Dagestan. But if you're expecting a homogeneous Dagestani nation, well, don't. Avars, Dargins, Lezgins, Laks, Tabasarans, Chechens, Russians, and a myriad of other ethnic groups all live in Dagestan. This place is sometimes called the Mountain of Languages, and for good reason. More than 50 ethnic groups reside in Dagestan, speaking in more than 30 languages. Now that is impressive. Makhachkala is the capital city of Dagestan. Founded as a fortress of the Russian Empire in 1844 as Petrovskoye, the city is today the largest and most important urban center in the region. Makhachkala is a place of paradoxes. On the one hand, due to a construction boom and substantial federal funds, the city gained a spectacular economic rise. On the other hand, it has some serious problems, such as dilapidated buildings, inadequate utilities, hectic construction, lack of planning, and poorly organized public transport. The population is still rising, so things aren't getting any easier anytime soon. Add to this the fact that Makhachkala is close to areas of fighting between insurgents and Russian security forces, and you'd probably not want to be the mayor of this city anytime soon. One of Dagestan's most important and beautiful cities is Derbent. It is the southernmost city in Russia, occupying the narrow gateway between the Caspian Sea and the Caucasus Mountains, thus joining the Eurasian steppes to the north and the Iranian plateau to the south. To say Derbent is a strategically important location is a gross understatement. Over the course of history, the city changed ownership many times, particularly among the Persian, Arab, Mongol, Timurid, Shirvan, Iranian, and Russian kingdoms and empires. This place was one of the gateways through which Islam spread to the north of the Caucasus into modern-day Russia. Derbent resembles a huge museum and has magnificent mountains and shore nearby, and therefore possesses much touristic potential. It's no surprise then that it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. When the Russian Civil War came in 1917, Ingushetia, Chechnya and Dagestan declared their independence from Russia and formed a single state called the United Mountain Dwellers of the North Caucasus. The republic was short-lived and the Bolsheviks managed to take it back and reintegrate it into Russia. During 1920 and 1922, most of the Dagestani people joined the Chechens in a widespread revolt against Soviet power. Some of the secret Islamic orders that led the revolt continued to practice terrorism even through the Soviet period. During World War II, just like in Chechnya and Ingushetia, the Soviets deported a large portion of the population into Siberia, accusing the people of collaboration with the Nazis. But of course, most of the deported people had no contact with the Germans and the accusations were false. Dagestani deportations were not nearly as massive as the ones in Chechnya, where the entire population was deported. Nevertheless, it did happen here too, and it impacted the lives of countless thousands. Dagestan has periodically rebelled against Moscow in a sometimes violent effort to secure independence. Some of this violence has been led by separatists and some by jihadists who profess an extreme version of Islam. Some of it has been directed at local pro-Moscow governments, some of it at people in Moscow itself, and during some of the worst years after the fall of the Soviet Union against Russian troops sent to the region to put down the uprisings. Since 2000, Dagestan has been the venue of a low-level guerrilla war bleeding over from Chechnya. The fighting has claimed the lives of hundreds of federal servicemen and officials, mostly members of local police forces, as well as many Dagestani national rebels and civilians. But do understand that this is far more complicated than to just say it's an Islamic uprising. The root causes of violence go far back into history and are as much about ethnicity, state capacity, and the region's poor integration into Russia as it is about religion and poverty. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. Leave your comments downstairs and don't forget there's a Patreon page where you can support this channel. I hope to see you next time. Bye.